Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rent Free with Mackenzie Davis. I am so excited to be back with you guys again. I feel like the weeks have been flying by. I can't believe we're already on episode 3, but so excited about it. I think this week's episode is going to be really, really cool, and it works perfectly. What I'm going to be telling you guys about today is something that I actually teach regularly at my brokerage, and it's how to utilize TikTok specifically for your social media branding, marketing, etc. when you're a realtor, and how to utilize it to grow your business to something that, really works for you. Essentially, like what I did and how I grew my account to be as large as it is, but in a sense that's real estate related rather than just like, here's how you grow overnight. That's not what we're focused on. We're focused on teaching people how to grow their accounts and create a loyal fan base that is interested in what they have to say and really values their opinion. Because that's when you create the value, that's when you provide the value, and then that's when you get that mutual relationship with your followers, where I help a lot of my followers buy and sell real estate now because they trust the opinions that I have based on what I've shared online. So that's kind of like the overview of what the course entails, but there's a lot of really helpful things that obviously you just don't learn until you learn them. Other things that I wanted to update you guys on, thanks for asking questions on the Google form. Just a reminder that if you want your questions answered in a future episode, there's a Google form that you can fill out. It's always linked in my bio on my link tree. So please feel free, whatever questions you want answered, nothing's too much. I'm an open book. You guys know the rest. I also just wanted to throw in a few little life updates just because I want this to be more personable, more relatable to you guys and everything. And so excitedly enough, I am starting the process of getting ready to look at other homes, and not necessarily forever homes, as well as this one is not a forever home, but looking for homes to buy as investments. And so that's something that is really exciting that I'm looking forward to telling you guys about, because this house that I'm in currently was also intended to be an investment. It was mostly, okay, I want somewhere to live for right now so that I can kickstart the investing journey. So the next property is probably going to be a duplex or some sort of multifamily property. We're going to do the house hacking method and all that good stuff, which I can definitely dive more into in future episodes, but just wanted you guys to know that that is now on my radar, which is even crazier because I feel like we just moved, but ultimately we've been here for 6 months at this point. So we could move at any point. It just is a matter of qualifying, having the funds, of course, and then just being ready. I feel like I'm not even near ready to leave the city yet, but I don't think I'll ever be ready. So we'll just see. We're taking it day by day. In other news as well, I feel like I need to update you guys about this because a lot of you guys have been consumers of the mentorship platform / course platform that I've had for 2 years now, where it's essentially an asynchronous platform. You can go and watch all of my mentorship videos. There's 80 of them. I've officially discontinued that platform along with my study guide, which was a really, really tough decision to make because I love, being able to be a resource for you guys and getting those things out there and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, I was working with this company who I really, really, really do love. I'm not going to say their name because I'm not slandering them. That's not what's happening, but I don't want any negative connotation to be put on them because they're such a great company and I love them so much. It's a great friend of mine who created a company to kind of create products for influencers that really coincide with their brands. I was their first official customer, and now they have 150 brands that they work with, which I'm so proud of them, and it's great and exciting. But I think that at the end of the day, I didn't have enough time to put towards marketing something like that, and it didn't feel quite authentic to me to push it all the time. And then on their end, there were some internal systems issues that were not getting resolved, and it just felt like a good time to part ways. So if you guys were on that platform for any amount of time, I appreciate it. And I'm glad that you guys, were able to have that. I know that your access to the account will still be active for a little bit longer, but once it's gone, it will be gone. So make sure you're, looking at all of that stuff. And I'm more than willing to put them up for you guys to watch through Google Drive or something. So, whatever works. I want to make sure you guys are still getting what you paid for and all of that good stuff. But yeah, that's officially over, which is sad, but it's okay. So, without further ado, I think we should just get into the content of this week's episode, which is again learning how to utilize TikTok to bolster your real estate business. And as far as you guys know, like obviously a lot of you come from my social media, so you know already that I have a large following, but maybe you're coming from elsewhere and you aren't aware. And so, just to give a little bit of background, I started my TikTok account about 4 years ago, maybe actually about 3 years ago, when I first like got busy in real estate, because I was making the video without the intent of it blowing up, just saying like, whoa, this real estate stuff is crazy kind of a thing. And from there, I've continued to learn and grow my account, and I've done a ton of trial and error. I've done a lot of different things, a lot of different products, a lot of different videos, advertisements, all that good stuff. And I feel like I'm at a place where I love to teach others how to, skip the trial and error piece and just really do what works for them. And so this class is something that I teach at my brokerage. I'm just pulling up the slides on my phone. So if you're watching me and you're wondering what I'm doing, that's what I'm doing. But basically, I teach this in 2 parts. So the first part is what we're going to go through today. And, if this is well received and you guys want more, I can do more in depth on the second piece. The only thing I will say is that one's a lot more hands-on, where it's like, you'd probably want to watch that episode just because I talk about like how to actually edit and how to do things like on the actual platform. And as I'm saying this, I'm like, that might not be the easiest like podcast content to talk about, but regardless, this first half is enough. It's a lot to take in, and there are a lot of examples and things that I'll give you guys. I'll make these slides public on my Linktree in some way, shape, or form. I'll probably put it on my resource page that is also free for you guys to access. So please go check it out there if you want like the visual, if you need to come back to this at any point. And so I think without further ado, we'll just go ahead and get started. So I call this TikTok 101, and it's called How to Take Your Real Estate Marketing to the Next Level. I'm not just going to be reading off the slides, by the way. I'm like going to actually be podcasting with you guys. I just am using the slides as a reference so I don't get too off track and everything. And so when I talk about why I'm the person who teaches the class, I think you guys can already understand that. But when I'm talking to my brokerage, I just make sure everybody's on the same page as far as like, I've been at my broker for 4 years now. I am a part-time realtor, part-time therapist, and I am also a social media content creator. I now have 124,000 followers on Instagram. Excuse me, not on Instagram, on TikTok. I wish on Instagram. You guys can follow me there if you want. And I created that TikTok by myself, grew it by myself, and have learned everything by myself. And so you could call me self-taught, sure. And this is my sole source of lead generation. So when people talk about their sphere of influence and they talk about all their different ways that they do marketing, I really, 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 really rely on social media. And that is, the way that I've been able to go through real estate without having to pay for marketing. TikTok these days is like my sole source of lead gen. Of course, there are people in my sphere of influence that kind of contribute now that I've been in this business for a bit longer. But realistically, it is amazing to me that I have not put a dime into marketing as far as like buying paid ads or, your more traditional types of real estate marketing. And so another reason why I think it's important to talk about, because like when people start in real estate, the expenses are one of the things that get them. And it's what gets them from really flourishing, I think, because they feel like they need to invest all this money into marketing that oftentimes doesn't even work. And so here we are kind of talking about alternatives. That's kind of just the gist of like why I feel like I'm equipped to talk about this. The next slide that I have on this PowerPoint is a few pictures, which I'm not going to show just because they include client faces. And obviously they didn't consent to me putting that online for everybody to see. But I included that I have worked with people who bought land. I've worked with people who bought new construction, people who've sold a house, people who've bought houses. So there's no shortage of clients through social media, and it doesn't discriminate. If you're only into land sales, that's fine. You can find that on social media. So that's really why I just like made that point to highlight that like it's not too niched out where you're going to feel like out of your comfort zone. The second thing that I talk about is what TikTok even is, which, I think a lot of you guys that are listening to this probably already understand what TikTok is and the power of TikTok. But the one point that I do want to highlight from this slide is just that Like, it's amazing how unique TikTok is comparative to Instagram, Facebook, other social media platforms. Because when you think about it, the potential to reach audiences is huge. It's so much bigger than other platforms. And when you talk about Reels, for example, like that's one thing on Instagram that like definitely can help you grow your audience quickly, whatever. But it's not quite the same as the For You page and how you can literally get videos put in front of the exact audience that you're trying to market to for free just by using hashtags and understanding the algorithm of TikTok and all of that good stuff. Mind blowing. And so, my point to make here is that TikTok has become this platform that allows you to get clients, network, be yourself, and promote your brand all in one video. And that is something that is so valuable, especially in any sales related field. So that's why I talk about it so often compared to other social medias. I think that TikTok just has a lot of potential there. Just a second ago, I mentioned understanding the algorithm and like what that even means. And I think this is probably the most important piece. My cat's entering the room, so she's going to be joining us today. She's learning how to be a realtor too. Come on, kitty, come up here. So the algorithm, and some of you might know more about this than others, so I'm just going to give a basic understanding and assume that you guys don't know what I'm talking about, so apologies if you're like, yeah, girl, we knew this. But basically, when you talk about what the TikTok algorithm is, it's made up of all of these puzzle pieces that kind of go together to make the perfect video. And you can use all of these puzzle pieces. You can use none of these puzzle pieces. There's no surefire way to make your video viral or end up on the For You page. There is a little bit of luck, a little bit of timing. Sometimes it has to depend on where you are and what time you post and those things, which are unpredictable for the most part. Kitty, you can't keep meowing, baby. Sorry, audio people, you now get to watch the kitty too, because she would not stop meowing. Back to what I was saying, I think that when you're posting on TikTok, you're posting with different intentions than you would on a lot of other social media platforms. And I mean that in that with TikTok, you're most likely posting for virality, posting to get outside of your followers' scope. And then of course to your followers too. But with Instagram, you're mostly like, oh yeah, I have 2,000 followers. I know that if I post this picture, they're all going to see it, but no one else really will. If that makes sense. Like, I feel like there's a very different approach to the way and the intent of the posts that you're making there. And so there is already a difference in the way that you're posting. But when you come down to the aspects of your content that really matter, there are 4 points that I always highlight, which are trends, sounds, hashtags, and captions. If you look at it like a puzzle, each one of those things is going to strengthen your post and give you a better chance of having it reach the audience you're looking for. So we're going to go one by one and kind of talk about like what I suggest for each one, and kind of more about how they can be influential. So trends are a big deal. So if you look on your For You page, I guarantee within a few scrolls, you'll recognize, oh, there's a lot of people posting with the same trend in mind, whether it's a trending dance, a trending sound. Maybe there's a new movie out and someone created a trend about that. There are always trends going on. And so you can kind of scroll for a few minutes. I always call it doing research, even though I'm just like scrolling on my phone, trying to find things that are working for others, and you can figure out how to apply it to your niche. And when I say this, there are so many examples of things that like you probably wouldn't think could go with your brand, but they do. And you just have to think about it. Like there's this one TikTok that was popular last summer that I always reference in this presentation, where it was about canon events, which is from the Spider-Man movies. But it was, of course, a huge trend last summer where people were making videos about canon events. So I made a video about canon events using the Spider-Man sound about real estate. And the video did really well. And so that's an example of how you might see something and be like, oh, this doesn't apply to me. But in reality, it really can. You just have to get creative. The next thing, which goes hand in hand with trends, because sometimes sounds are trending, which means that you could scroll on your For You page and you'll hear the same sounds over and over again. And that's when you know, okay, this is a really popular sound. A lot of people are using this. So if I use this sound too, it's more likely to be popularized. And that is part of the algorithm. That is how that works. Examples of sounds that have been trending. I mean, it's like you guys know them. I swear you do. Like if you've heard any TikTok sounds before, it's likely that it's because it's trending. Like I feel like I hear the same ones over and over again, just in the same way that I talk, like, like brain rot, like we all talk about, like I find myself speaking in TikTok terms. That's how you know it's a trending sound because you have it stuck in your head. You say it in your day to day conversations. Like, that's a great place to start with sounds. And the second piece is hashtags and captions. They're separate things, but they both kind of are one and the same, being that your hashtags are a part of your caption. But even just the words you use in your caption, as far as like kitty, as far as like new homeowner tips, like if someone searches new homeowner tips and your video did well, you're going to come up way closer to the top. So make sure you're careful with the words that you're using. And then the hashtags as well. There's always trending hashtags. So hashtag for you, hashtag FYP. As cringy as it sounds, like those TikTok hashtags like work and they're always trending. And then of course you want to be closer to your niche and finding out, like determining like what that would look like too. So if you want to focus on luxury real estate, like I always do hashtag Annapolis, Maryland, because that's where I'm from. I always do hashtag Maryland Realtor. Lay down. Dude. Lay. No. Hey, I'm trying to hold you like a baby. Lay down. Oh, good grief. I feel like this is what it must be like to have a child. Anywho, so hashtags and captions, those things go together. Just making sure you're trying to focus on your niche and how you can continue to add things that are applying to your niche. So those are what I call like the staples of each post. And it's not something that's going to take you forever to think about. It's just something you should have on your mind when you're curating your content. The next thing that I list on this slide is that niches are a big deal and that TikTok loves to put people in a box. And what I mean by that is like, I've struggled with this over the years where like I've wanted to branch off with my content. Like I love to be a lifestyle creator. Like I want you guys to see other parts of my life. I want to be in some beauty content, some relationship content, some like different areas of those different things. But when I've been put in this box by TikTok that's real estate focused, it does not push my content to my followers if it's not within that box. So like a lot of times I'll post content about me and my boyfriend. We've been together for almost 7 years and there's a lot of stuff that I'll like post about on there. And those videos never do well. I've had like one do well and then the rest are just like under 100 likes even sometimes because it's not in my niche, which is super unfortunate, but it's also helpful to know when you're making your content because if you're posting something that does align with your niche, you know it's going to get pushed and recognized by even your following and beyond. So that's just something to be cognizant of. Would you watch it? And I find myself asking this question so often because I like scroll on TikTok and I'm a person who likes everything. Like my boyfriend thinks I'm crazy because I will literally like everything, but it's out of habit and also I would want someone to like my content, especially if I was a new creator. So I just do it. I don't look at my likes as like, oh, I'm going to go back to that. If I want it, I'll save it. If I don't care, I'll just like it, which could get me in trouble at some point. But mark my words, I like everything, even if I don't agree with it. That's so bad. I need to stop doing that. But my point being here is like, I will scroll on TikTok and I get videos where it's like immediately in the first 3 seconds, I'm like, okay, this is not someone who makes TikToks often. This is someone who's starting out. I know those things just by the first 3 seconds because I can tell how quickly they're able to grab people and how quickly they're able to keep people engaged. And it's really fascinating to me because if you watch those first 3 seconds, you know if you're going to keep watching or not. You know how quickly you're going to scroll. And TikTok really breeds that quick attention span where it's like you got to grab someone in or else it's too late and they're scrolling. And so when you think about the first 3 seconds of that video, what are you going to say that's going to grab someone, that's going to make them want to see what you have to say next? I linked 2 examples, which I always pull up, and I'll play one for you guys. Every time I play this in class, it's always like somebody's like parent who was like, wow, that was really creative. And I'm like, thanks. Okay, so this is the TikTok, the first 3 seconds.
I'm 22 years old and will be buying my first child's house this year, so.
And then I say, let's talk about it. And then I go in depth. And off of that first 3 seconds, you're probably like, wait, you're 22, you're buying your kid that doesn't exist a house yet. Like, it's just confusing, right? So then you're like, okay, wait, I want to know more about this because it's just kind of shocking. And then in the video, I go on to explain that, like, oh, I purchased this house that I'm actually sitting in right now, and I intend to keep this property, build equity in the property, rent it out, make passive income, continue buying properties and doing the same. And then when I do have kids in 10 years, in 7 years, whatever age I decide to have kids at, then I'll be able to pull equity from the properties that I own in order to pay for like their college and stuff. And so I was saying, like, I'm buying this house for my future kids, which is true. I know that's part of my plan, but it's not like I'm like giving them this house. And so that's kind of an example of how you get someone to stay. And I have tons of examples of these things because I use that kind of hook method all of the time. The next slide of this presentation is talking about creating a brand of yourself around yourself, which as a realtor, this is something we already do. It's kind of weird when like a service you offer is your business because you are the brand. Like if you think about someone who's a mechanic, like their hands are their brand. Like that is a skill that they are offering. And obviously that's like very duh, like everybody knows that, but it's important to recognize because social media, while we can be silly and funny on it, is an extension of your brand. And so when you're marketing yourself online, you are your brand, your videos are promoting your brand. And so it's all very cohesive in that way. And so we can treat it that way and make really great progress, make lots of clients, business, whatever kind of area of business that you're in. And we already do it as realtors. You just kind of have to apply the same principles to social media. So I make a point to also touch on the fact that you want to embody who you want to be as an agent. Don't get on social media and start pretending like you're this luxury agent if you've never sold a luxury home. Don't get on social media and start marketing to first-time homebuyers if you work in luxury. Like, let's find the area that we really want to work in and then create our content around that instead of trying to be like something that we're not. Unless maybe, of course, you're working towards becoming a luxury agent and you want to highlight those pieces of your life. But I think the point I'm trying to make is like, be really authentic to who you are because that shows through in a lot of ways. Like, you guys probably have seen this with other content creators where you can see right through this facade that they put on for the internet. And so the more that you're true to yourself, the more genuine your content is going to feel too. I say this all the time about my content. Like, you guys know me exactly who I am. Like, I do not put on a face for social media. Like, yes, maybe I use like the airbrush filter on TikTok and like those sorts of things, but you guys know my personality, you know me, you know my humor, you know all of those things. And I think that shows through. And then people tend to be more connected to my content for that reason. And so finding that authenticity within your brand is going to be really important. And then the last thing that I put on this slide was that while you're creating a brand around yourself and your social media is that extension, you can also have amazing results in other financial ways. And what I mean is that you can monetize your content. Once you reach like 10,000 followers on TikTok, you can be in the creator fund. It's not much, but it's something. You can do brand deals. You can do affiliate links. I'm a huge proponent of affiliate links because I offer so many resources to you guys for free, of course, and oftentimes with a discount. And then, of course, I would get the kickback from the company for referring you guys to them. And I don't always do that, but if there's an opportunity to do so, why not? It's like a win-win for all of us. You get the discount, I get the kickback, we all get the free resource. It's like, let's do more of that. But as a social media content creator, that's something you can utilize with any kind of products. And then finally, you can create your own products and your own courses and content and whatever you want to do. Just as I was talking about at the beginning of this episode, I had a study guide and a course. I do a lot of different things here and there, webinars, courses, products, and I try to make them as relatable and like needed by my audience. But at the same time, that is another avenue to make money. And so what I'm trying to say here is like, your brand and your social media are connected, but they can create this whole other brand that becomes some other beast. And it's really awesome. And so just have that in mind too, if you want that to be what your social media focuses on. Referrals and resources are another piece that I talk about because TikTok is not just for clients. I have met so many great people in my state, out of state. I include these pictures on the slide, which here, I'll show you guys if you can even see that. But my friends Charlie and Omar lives in DC, so I see him more often, but he's a great, fantastic realtor, like does so much business. Like I went to one of his networking events this past summer, and he was talking about how he made like $400,000 last year, and he's like 22. He's insane. And he's a good friend of mine, and we do a lot of content together and all of that good stuff. And I met him through social media. And same with Charlie. He lives in Miami, but whenever I go to Florida, meet up with him, get lunch. Like it's just nice to have these connections in different places because you never know who you're going to need to refer out to. That's something else that you can find a resource for everything, whether or not it's another realtor or a service that you're looking for a home buyer or a seller. All of that is in TikTok, and so you can utilize it for that. And additionally, if you want to, you can make that another revenue source because once you refer someone to an agent, you can get a commission for that. And that's something I partake in as well. I refer a lot of clients out that I can't help because I don't live in their state, but my friends can help them, and then I can get the commission for referring back to them. Final piece of the puzzle that we've been talking about is the accessibility of it all. I think in this day and age, it would be a shame to not be accessible via the internet because you're missing out on so much business. In my personal opinion, and of course, it is never going away, it is only getting increasingly more prominent in our lives as far as the internet and those things go. Basically, like, everyone's online, and you're silly if you think your clients aren't looking you up. Like, genuinely, I promise they are. At least some of them are. And I know that for a fact because I've had people tell me, but also because every single one of my clients these days has seen me on TikTok. And it's not because I show it to them. It's because TikTok has a feature that like says from your contacts. So that's something to know going into this is like, yeah, your clients are going to see your content. But also that goes to show how accessible it can be. Like imagine if, oh yeah, when my clients do look me up, they find my first time homebuyer guide. They find, oh, I did 20 transactions this year. Oh, I got one buyer $15,000 in closing assistance. Those are the things that are going to persuade someone to want to work with you because they see, oh, they're offering me free resources and providing value to me. We always talk about providing value. And they're offering, you know, these free like homebuyer courses or whatever it is that you want to put out there. And so instead of them looking you up and being like, they haven't been on Facebook since 2014, it's like, have something to show for yourself, you know? And that is a huge benefit of social media because you can do it in one fell swoop. You search my name on social media, you're getting everything. You're getting the TikTok, the YouTube, the Instagram. Like, I have it all out there. And then Linktree as well, which, funny story, I actually just met with their team. I don't know what their roles were, but I met with them to discuss this potential package they're going to offer. So right now Linktree is free. They do a subscription option, but I've never paid for it. But basically they have this thing where they're going to streamline the link system so anybody could just add their links to their template, which they don't currently have. Like usually you curate your own Linktree. But I was at the class that I'm telling you guys about right now, like the one I'm teaching from. And one of the realtors I was with was like, oh, what if I don't know how to put my links in? What if I just want someone to do it for me? And I was like, interesting. I just had a meeting about this. So sometime in the near future, Linktree is going to roll that out where you can just have them give you a template and you just put in the links. For me, I personally like to make my own and design it. And that's just like what I do. So of course it makes sense. But I have all my links in my Linktree and they're always there and they're on every platform. And that comes back to being accessible. So just kind of, you know, allowing yourself to be there. And if you don't want to be there on social media, that's fine. But I will say I anticipate with real estate, like especially with real estate, social media is always going to be a big part of it. And so you might want to get on the train while it's still easy to get on the train. And the last slide that I have in this presentation is just general tips. And so the first thing that I mention is to stop caring about what other people think about your post. I just made a TikTok yesterday that was like, an influencer with 1 million followers is not going to care what you post. A person with good grades is not going to care that you're studying. A billionaire is not going to judge you for starting a business. And, like a teacher is not going to judge you for learning. Like, there's all these people who it's like you're trying and aspiring to be these people and so worried about people judging you. But the only people that are going to judge you are the people that don't want good for you. They want you to be less good than them. And so that's why people judge. And it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. Don't listen to them. I swear, looking back, I had those notions as well. Of course, everyone does. But looking back, I'm like, if I hadn't made that video, oh my God, if I hadn't made that video for fear of judgment, I don't know what any of my life would look like at all. And so you just got to do it, and you just got to try and pretend like, no one cares. The warning I give with that is something I already said in this episode, but just that your clients will see your content and they will look you up. So don't be like posting things that you don't want them to see online, but, making yourself present in the ways that you're being helpful and being a resource for people online. Take a shot every time I say resource. I wonder how many people have thought that already during this episode, because I know I've said it a billion times, but what can I say? I'm full of them, okay? So last thing that I had on this was that you want to use other creators for inspiration. There's no sense in racking your brain trying to figure out what's going to work when other people have already made content that works. I'm not saying copy them. I'm not saying, steal people's ideas and always give them credit if you do, but just, utilize what's already out there. Try to figure out how to put your own spin onto trends that are existing and all of that good stuff. And then on the flip side of that, when you are posting, use that as an opportunity to continue to provide value. People are going to comment with questions. They're going to DM you. I still to this day go through all my DMs every once in a while. I don't have time to do it like I used to, where I would respond to people every single day. Now I hit the sign again. Take a shot every time I hit the sign. Oh God, this is getting bad. Once you start posting, you're going to open the door for a lot more opportunities for you to create business and to generate value for your customers. And so answer those DMs even if they're not someone looking in your state. Answer those DMs if they're not ready to buy for a year. Answer those comments even if it doesn't seem like, they're going to provide something for you, because in that way you're creating trusting relationships, and that is more valuable than anything. That is basically the presentation that I give in my brokerage. Usually there's questions interjected here and there, so I think it went a little bit quicker than usual, but that's fine. I hope that you guys enjoyed that. I don't know if what I said made sense. Sometimes I start yapping and I'm like, did I say anything of value? Did I make sense? Like, I don't know. I think it did. And like I said, I'll post those slides for you guys to reference, just because I know that some people are visual learners and also the links that are included are helpful. So I will figure out a way to post that. And then without further ado, we are going to answer some questions this week. I have several questions, I think, since last week. All right, we got 5 questions today. What do you think the most crucial thing to do is right after you get your license? Get a mentor and figure out a plan, whether you're going to use lead generation apps, go door knocking, cold calling, using social media, whatever your plan is, have it before you get your license so that when you do, you can hit the ground running. I think that is super important. And then the mentorship piece, because once you hit the ground running, as soon as you get that first client, you're going to want to dive head first, and you need someone to help you, because when I tell you, your classes do not teach you how to be a realtor. I'll say it over and over again because I've said it before, but they really don't teach you those necessary skills. And so having a person to hold your hand through that is going to be really important. Someone said, how can I start real estate with a job? I feel like nobody talks about this and I'm so lost. Haha. Yeah. So honestly, it's really simple. And I prefer like that transition rather than going headfirst full time, because you don't know what your experience is going to be like. You could get clients day one and be golden from the beginning, but you could have a bit of a period where you're building your business and trying to grow and get your name out there, and you're not doing business. And so you don't want to quit your job and not have income saved. And that's something I really, really emphasize. Like, you don't want to ditch one job until you have the next secured. And because it's a commission-based job, I wouldn't ever suggest just diving into it unless you have savings or someone else to support you or whatever it is. But I think that the way you would actually start is just by getting your license and then filling your free time. It's going to be a time where you're really busy, probably, where you're like man, I'm working a 9 to 5 and I'm doing evenings because I have this other job. But doing that, investing that time will eventually let you work away from that other job you're in, or maybe take a part-time job or continue doing just evenings and weekends for extra income. I know a lot of people that do that. It's kind of like what I do, honestly, because I work as a therapist too. So it's very possible. You just kind of gotta, look at what time you have open and then fill it with that real estate stuff. Next, someone asked, how often do you go into the office? Like, does location of the brokerage you work for matter? So I have lots of things to say. Yes and no about the location mattering. There are virtual brokerages that are like not even physical locations and you can affiliate with them and they have virtual meetings and things like that. Now, if you want any sense of community and if you want in-person events and trainings and mentorship, I wouldn't suggest a virtual brokerage just because it's so much harder to learn that way, at least for me. Maybe this is something that's just a me thing, but when you're working at a brokerage that has an office in your town, it's nice to go and just sit there and work, see who you run into. Like, I teach classes at my brokerage, I mentor there, I do a lot of things, and so it's nice to have that office if I want to go into it. And then on the flip side, for your other question, how often do I go into the office? Not often, really, at all. I probably went there like 3 times my first 3 years, and then I started teaching classes and mentoring, so now I go there more often. But it's not a requirement to go into your office at all. Like, I could never go if I wanted to, but I like connecting with other people and doing that stuff. So it's really kind of what you want to make it. And similarly to how you do your real estate education, you can do the same thing with your brokerage when you think about doing it online or in person. And I do also want to disclaim that every brokerage is different. So even though I'm saying this about my brokerage, you could affiliate with another one that is very different. So definitely ask those questions before you affiliate. Mackenzie, thank you for all you do. You truly helped me out so much after becoming licensed. You're welcome, girl. So happy that you got your license. My question is, how does the Home and Buy work? Oh, how does the app Home and Buy work? I've never heard of the app Home and Buy before. There's an app that I use, which I think is on my resource sheet. So I'm wondering if you're referencing this, but it is called Home and Money. And it is an app where you can refer clients to out-of-state professionals and then get a kickback for the commission. So what I was talking about earlier, how you can turn your business into other streams of income. I have like a form in my bio where you can put in, your information. If you're in Maryland, you get sent to me. So I would work with you. But if you're not, you get sent to one of their partners that's in the area you're looking. And so that's what Home and Money does, is they facilitate those connections and make sure you get your commission at the end of the day and all that stuff. So I think that's what you're asking. It's not quite a lead gen app in the way that you get leads, but it is a lead gen app in the way that it captures your leads and then gives out other ones. And the last question that we'll do for today says, hey, Mackenzie, I came across one of your videos on TikTok and all your videos really inspired me to maybe become a realtor myself, but right now I'm only 15 and a sophomore. Is there anything I can do that maybe prepare me, or things I can study to prepare me for becoming a realtor? In last week's episode, I feel like I answered this question with what I was saying about the optional first step in getting into real estate. So we all know that you can get into real estate by taking your pre-licensing class, but there, to me, is an optional first step, which is shadowing other agents, taking courses, like whether it's at a college or just YouTube, or, watching videos and just really learning, basically, like getting your foot in the door, making sure that this is the job you think it is and that you're going to be doing what you want to be doing. Maybe you want to work front desk at a brokerage to like get that experience day to day. There's a lot of stuff like that I would suggest doing if you're not quite sure that you want to do real estate, or maybe you are sure and you're like, I just want to learn, and that's another great way to do it. So that's kind of what I would suggest for you. And then, of course, when you're 18, or I think even 6 months before you're 18, you can sign up for your class. So anyways, that was all, I think, for this week's episode. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I hope that this was helpful for you. I am open to all and any ideas that you have. I think I have some ideas for what we could talk about coming up, but I really want to make sure I'm catering to what you guys want to hear about. So let me know if there's anything else that you want to hear about. My DMs are always open. Love you guys a lot, and I will see you